once again. My name is Denny C23. Today we have with me Robert Marshall, a former editor for Hypebeast magazine, also a freelance writer now.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you got going.
Long time editor at Hypebeast. Wore many hats over the years, but very recently kind of pivoting out into maybe the marketing and advertising world. But we're, just as of right now, just working on some freelance gigs, freelance opportunities, just seeing what's out there, man. Just trying a new chapter of my career.
So, what made you decide to go into like the marketing side of things now?
Well, yeah, so I think it goes back to even before Hypebeast. I studied marketing, management, and advertising in college, locally here at Hudson Valley in Siena. I was naive to think graduating that I was going to get a job at Nike right away. I was applying for jobs there and other footwear brands. This is 2007, 2008.
So you weren't even trying to start like at the flag, so you're trying to go like straight to
corporate. And I thought so. Again, this is very naive. I was a lot of my experiences through college were trial and error. I was first person in my family in college, so a lot of mistakes were made along the way. And I worked for quite a bit after college. This was obviously previous recession and Great Recession, 2008, 2009. I was everything from selling cell phones to working at banks, just kind of figuring it out. I think when you live in Albany, you're the creative and and artistic community is so small. And this was 2000 again,
but it was smaller than
late 2000s, early 2010s. It has obviously grown quite a bit over the years. I'm super excited to see, but I think we grew up living on the internet, living in forums, going, Nike Talk forums and Hypebeast forums, and that's how you really got acquainted with different brands on the West Coast or in Japan.
Right, that's how I feel like now. It's so much of a melting pot no matter where you go.
Yeah,
you can see any kind of stuff. Like I see people when I was in LA that dress like New Yorkers.
Oh, fact, yeah.
Yeah, or even having their own style and things like that. I think that was kind of dope too.
Yeah, absolutely. With the globalization for sure, it's you find everything. There's a niche community in Japan of Japanese Chicanos. They have shaved heads,
You lived over there for a while though.
I live in Hong Kong, where Hypebeast is headquartered, and a journalist that's reporting on culture, street and fashion and hip hop culture, black culture at large. That doesn't really exist in Hong Kong. So when we opened up the New York office, I wanted to jump over here.
Yeah.
But to your point, I kind of stumbled into writing, helping to your question, helping a homegirl with her music website when she used to be an intern at Bad Boy, and she started a little small thing and started writing from there. And I just submitted some writing samples to Hypebeast, and I was their morning time blogger. So I used to write from 5 to 9 a.m. and then I'd go and work at the bank that I worked at in Albany. And then I'd come back and in the evening I'd work on longer form stories, whether it be for the magazine, op-eds, opinion editorials, interviews, and so on. And yeah.
So what would you say was your favorite work or project that you worked on throughout your career?
Man, I don't want to sound braggadocious because
listen, it's your life. You can't sound braggadocious when it's real.
Yeah, for sure. I guess more to say that there's always a lot of helping hands when it comes into making digital content. So one that definitely sits home all the time that sometimes I just think about, I can't believe I did that, was so in 2015, Hypebeast had a music entity that was separate from Hypebeast. It was called Hype Track.
I remember that.
So it had since folded into Hypebeast. As a company, we realized there was no sense for us to have two different websites. Where music was such a large part of culture that music influences so much. And so we had this opportunity. The first issue, Kendrick Lamar was a cover story, and I really wanted to write that shit. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay. I really wanted to write that shit, and they ended up giving it to our colleague, who's also a big fan. This is 2015, and I had been a fan of Kendrick since like over the dedicated. So a couple years before that, and I knew like this guy is the dude, you know, like. And I think we all kind of saw that too.
Yeah, right. Like,
yeah.
He hit the scene hard. Man.
Absolutely. And just banger after banger and banger. And so we had him as our cover, and then the second cover. I forget how it came about. I wasn't part of like the initial group that made it happen, but we wanted Quincy Jones as our cover. But the idea is that we wanted to make sure that it tied to the first issue, so we had Kendrick. The idea was to have Kendrick Lamar interview Quincy Jones. So, and then we would publish it as like a Q&A of like what happened. Then, this happened in LA, I'm living in Hong Kong, so Quincy and Kendrick meet and they have, they do a photo shoot and they have this conversation. But when the audio comes back to Hong Kong, they're not really talking about much. It's kind of, I don't want to say bullshitting because that's not the case. They're not necessarily getting to the topics that we were hoping that they would discuss. And Quincy will talk, man. I think if you ever watch the Quincy documentary, and I'll get to that in a second, Quincy documentary on Netflix is fantastic. Quincy can certainly talk in ways like this. Right. And again, I didn't meet him, but listening to the audio, he was just, he was talking to Kendrick a lot about, his own background and kind of relating his background to Kendrick, right. And then also telling him how much he appreciates and is proud of him and hip hop itself and like where it's going, and almost like passing the reins to him.
That's cool. Like,
yeah. Yeah. So it's cool, really, to listen to this, man, and like being privy to this conversation, and not many, and especially being one of the very few people to hear it in its entirety. Because there's some funny parts in there, man, that I wouldn't want to get out. But Quincy is definitely a lover, man, for sure. He knows his women. That's all I'll say about that audio. My colleague comes to me and our head of our editorial team and said, "Hey, you want to write this cover story? We need to like flip this into more of a narrative piece." And they gave me the audio. I'm like, I don't know, like, what am I going to do with this? And really, I think I just kind of took the conversation that they had about Quincy being so proud of him and Kendrick, taking the lead, not only in music but in Black culture, and kind of passing the torch to him. And it's like in this small little, on a sofa in this random warehouse in LA, this. But we got it out. The cover story is my first and only cover story. I wrote other print stories before for our magazine, and really when it hit home was in that Quincy documentary, and they're sitting in like maybe Quincy's like guest house, and he's talking to his manager, and they're like going over stuff, and his manager said something like along the lines of like, "Hey, did you see the magazine? It came out." And he hands him the Hype Track magazine. He's like flipping through it and reading it. He's like, "Wow, this is beautiful." And like he's looking at what I wrote about him and Kendrick. Right. And and it's just like I screenshot the shit out of that. And for just him to hear it, I don't even know if he actually read it, but just for him to look at it and know it exists is like, wow.
So right now we're gonna take a quick break. Check out this new track by Shy the Realist called "Flippin' Shit Over."
I'm flipping all the shit over. Maybe I'm Tyson, maybe I'm Wilder, maybe I'm way more Newton than Dagger. Martin's ashamed, but Malcolm is prouder. This is America, maybe I'm childish, I'm full of anger. I'm from Chicago, maybe I'm Hampton, maybe I'm Bobby. They try to silence us, turn up the volume. Real niggas don't die, they all live inside me. I grew up thinking the Kuna Matata, then I turned on my Hakus and the choppers. I had trees that turned my tuna to lobster. I grew my locks and I turned to a shotter. I remember hardly seeing my father, I'm from a foster home like Nigga Cicada. I was drinking shit way harder than Pina Colada when I was harassed by the coppers. I needed prayer, and not a cop that's employed by the mayor. Crazy that they put their foot on our necks when black people can't even put foot on the table. Arrest the police that can Breonna Taylor. Arrest the police that could Breonna Taylor. Arrest the police that could Breonna Taylor. Justice for Breonna Taylor. I'm flipping all the shit up.
Vehicle, they're smashing it with skateboards right now. It looks like they're attempting to try to flip it, but they're throwing things strong back up.
I'm flipping all the shit up.
All right, welcome back. We're still here with my man Robert, and just let us know what you think of that song in the comments below. So, question. What are like 2 likes and dislikes of your job?
So, I think likes, man. I think just the people I was able to work with, and both on like the colleagues and the freelancers, from fellow editors to the photographers on our team, the videographers. I mean, just being around creatives and storytellers from so many different lanes, you know, from producers to, you know, graphic designers to, you know, even our sales team, man. Like, everybody was deep to just be at Hypebeast, or just to be in that field and work in footwear or work in fashion or whatever it might have been, you know, for whatever, you know, stress the job might have brought. You know, I think it's just maybe more of a stressful workload.
Right.
You know, just being around those people every day was exciting and super fun. I think, man, dislikes.
That's always the one, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, what, like, to be trying to find something that's like specific about it. I think it's just like the industry. You do get a bit jaded from it. I think just working within like fashion and footwear over time.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as like someone grows older, your values change.
Right.
And you know, reporting on hype culture or, you know, fashion, footwear and stuff, you're just like, am I contributing to this? You know, how am I helping this situation? The perceptions definitely change. I think it's just finding what's important, right?
So what is like your ideal, like, dream project that you would like to accomplish in your career or have accomplished?
Oh man, that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out now. You know, yeah, life after Hypebeast and what's next for me. Yeah, I mean, again, I think I've always really wanted to be on the marketing side and, you know, and advertising side, and but doing it with, you know, real intent to help people, right? It's not just selling a product, but like proving its value to them,
Right.
and but at the same time making sure that we're like helping our consumers on so many fronts. And then I think, I'm not sure what the dream projects would be, but I think where I would love to be is, you know, is working in like the sportswear or sport industry, and you know, working
as a designer or like
a bit of both. I mean, I think, yeah, I think more so on like designing like the creative assets of it. You know, I hate using like the words of like the creative director word. But I think
illustrator kind of
yeah. But I think more so helping bring things to market. You said, you touched on it just a second ago with Nike. Nike does a really good job of like storytelling, right, around their products.
Yeah.
But being able to drive home the purpose of what it is and how it benefits everybody, whether, you know, just design aesthetics to the performance of it. And really, you know, growing up and watching those ads, you know, those Michael Jordan ads, or those Penny Hardaway ads, and it was like that we're able to tell like so many different stories about a product, like whether it be like its cultural relevance because of its ties to the player, and the style of it, but also the performance of it, the design aspect of it. You know, I think, you know, for me, you know, footwear is like furniture design, right, or technology.
I can definitely understand.
Yeah, so it's not just like the way it looks, it's like the way it performs, how it was brought together, the story behind it. And I think ideally, yeah, I think I want to work on those type of stories.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm hoping my career will go next.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm definitely sure we'll go in that direction, man. So where can people find you? Where can they follow you?
So yeah, TheBearededBob on Instagram. It's usually where you find me. You know, hopefully I'll have my portfolio website up soon. But yeah, that's where I'll be at for most of the time. I'm gonna probably post more of my work. You know, I'm working on a couple of freelance gigs with a few different brands. So yeah, you can catch me on there. Again, if anybody has like any questions about like the industry, man, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to talk about it.
Definitely.
For sure.
We definitely want to check back in with you though.
Yeah.
See how your progress is going.
Hopefully New Year, new things for sure.
Thank you.
You already know. You already know, brother.
Thank you for watching.
Flipping all the shit up.